Located on the Worcestershire-Gloucestershire border, the small village of Beckford is home to the Vale Wildlife Hospital and Rehabilitation Centre. Established in 1984, Vale Wildlife Rescue, as it's known locally, moved from location to location until eventually settling at this 10-acre site in Beckford. More recently, in 1992, thanks to public support, Vale was able to have a £230,000 purpose-built wildlife hospital developed on the site. This provides extensive medical facilities and equipment and offers greatly improved accommodation for the many casualties it treats. The spacious new reception area provides information and guidance as well as a small gift shop. Outside the hospital, in the aviaries and enclosures, are just some of the hospital's patients. At one time or another, the hospital has played host to the majority of British wildlife species. From foxes to owls, from duck to deer. The aim of the hospital is to release casualties back into the wild as soon as they're fit. And today, like every other day, begins as it will continue, busily. First on the agenda is the TB testing of 3 badger cubs by Caroline Gould and co-worker Jason O'Connell. As Caroline explains, the need to eliminate the risk of spreading tuberculosis is an extremely important part of badger cub rehabilitation.
We normally get 2 or 3 badger cubs a year, which we will rear up until they're old enough to feed themselves and starting to fend for themselves, but then we move them on to a more specialist centre because we haven't got the time that is needed involved in rehabilitating badgers back into the wild, cubs anyway. So we move them on to a centre in Somerset where they specialise in badgers. They're very good. They do get most of them back in the wild where they should be. Before they can be moved at all, they have to be TB tested because there's so much of a problem now with TB and cattle. So we have to have them tested to make sure that we're not moving a TB infected badger from one county to another. So we give them their initial tests. They will have 3 tests altogether. They have the first test here. Providing that comes back as negative, then they can be moved to Somerset where they'll have their other 2 tests and then go out for release.
As the procedure is completed and the cubs are returned to their enclosure, the intake of casualties continues. It's still early morning and Martin at the reception desk has already admitted a dozen or so animals.
Right, there's a bit of blood in there. Is that a cat?
I don't know, it could be, yeah.
The flow of patients at this time of year is relentless. The cost of running a centre that is on call 24 hours a day, 365 days a year is ever increasing, and being a charitable trust, the centre relies on public support to help raise the £10,000 a month it needs just to stay open. Food is donated via collection points at local supermarkets, and there is a sponsorship programme for those who may wish to sponsor a patient or enclosure. However much these contributions are appreciated, raising the £10,000 a month is a constant struggle, and the hospital has continually to explore new avenues of funding. Some of the ways in which the centre attempts to raise this money include holding car boot sales, the recycling of aluminium and tin cans, running a charity shop in the nearby town of Evesham, and by opening the doors of its visitor centre, also in Evesham, to the public. Founded in 1998, the visitor centre is open to the public all year round. As well as raising much needed funds, the visitor centre acts as a window on the dedicated work done by the Wildlife Hospital in nearby Beckford. As mentioned earlier, the aim of the Vale Wildlife Rescue Hospital is to rehabilitate as many casualties as possible. Inevitably though, there are some which can never be released, mainly those which well-meaning members of the public have tamed, and some of these animals happily now live here at the Visitors Centre. Also at the centre are many unwanted exotic ex-pets which have been abandoned by their owners. It takes experience and dedication that most people do not have to keep the animals such as these. And once again, it's left up to a charity such as Vale to cope. Local schools hold field trips here, and the visitor centre has dedicated resources for this, including an education room, a wildlife pond, and of course the animals themselves. Back at the hospital, and another regular to the centre is making a visit, the RSPCA. As this RSPCA inspector explains, Vale Wildlife Rescue is a crucial facility for injured wildlife and its rescuers.
Yeah, we have nowhere locally to take animals. Our nearest places are in Somerset and in Cheshire, so Vale Wildlife are invaluable for us with all our wildlife. And a lot of the stuff that we pick up as RSPCA inspectors and ambulance drivers is wildlife.
Another organisation dependent on the Vale Wildlife is the Swan Rescue Centre from South Wales.
I just brought in 2 carrion crow juveniles, really on behalf of someone else who rescued them in Cardiff. And I'm a regular caller here. I'm Peter Martin. I represent Swan Rescue South Wales. The trouble is that when you get a reputation for rescuing something, you get called for rescuing everything else as well, and we simply can't cope, so we can do a bit of first aid, but we haven't got the every space for proper rehabilitation, which the Vale has, and we're more than grateful that they're here to help us out.
It's early afternoon and Martin receives a phone call from a local veterinary surgery, which has taken in an injured bird. Martin relinquishes his post and travels to collect the casualty. Although this time may not be an emergency, sometimes the inability to have a blue light can be frustrating, as whilst a wild animal may be slowly dying, the driver of the ambulance may well be stuck in traffic.
Okay.
Okay,
Lovely.
thank you.
Thanks for that. Cheers.
Thankfully today it isn't an emergency, and on return to the hospital, the bird is assessed, weighed, fed and kept in overnight for observation. Between 4,500 and 5,000 animals and birds are brought into the centre every year, and as you've seen, these can arrive from a variety of different sources. With so many dependents relying on the Vale Wildlife Hospital and Rehabilitation Centre, and with so little money coming in, is it just a matter of time? For more information, to make a contribution or to receive a copy of this video, please contact Vale Wildlife Rescue by any of the following means. Telephone 01386 882288. Fax number 01386 882299. You can email them on info@vwr.org.uk, and the website address is www.vwr.org.uk. Thank you.